Hello, it's John Heaton, and I thought I'd do. I thought I'd rank solo Beatles B-sides. I was going to do a video of the top 10, then I thought I'd split it up into three. So I'm going to first of all explain the rules and then take you through numbers 7 to 10 in the first video, and then 4 to 6 in the second, and 1 to 3 in the third, I think. So the rules are, it has to be a unique B-side not appearing on an album. So for example, Meat City, the B-side of Mind Games, wouldn't count because it's on the Mind Games album. That's about the only rule. Double A-sides don't count, so Girls' School was unlucky to miss out, although for all intents and purposes, outside of the US, it was the B-side to Mull of Kintyre. Didn't get played very much, but officially it was a double A-side, so I haven't counted that. I also haven't counted Lay His Head, which was the B-side of Got My Mind Set on You, on this 12-inch anyway, because I don't really count it as a B-side. It was an album, a rejected album track from the Summer in England album, the first version of that album, along with 3 other tracks rejected, and only 6 years later released on this 12-inch single. Although I think it would have definitely made my top 10, because I think Lay His Head is a fine track. And actually that was the track which I said to George when I met him outside of Wembley Arena in 1987, December, at a Dylan concert, around the back. And I said, glad you've released Lay His Head on the B-side of your new single. It's a fine track. And he goes, oh yeah, that was to save using up some of the new ones. So this song has a special place in my heart, because that's my only meeting with George, but it doesn't count. So before I get to the top 10, some ones which were bubbling under, which didn't quite make it. Remarkable how in the 70s at least the tracks did not appear on the album, for most of Paul and George's singles. On about 3 Ringo singles, only 1 John single, and none of John's, that one John B-side didn't make the top 10, so it's one of the ones bubbling under. It's the B-side to Stand By Me, Move Over Miss L, which I don't think is a very remarkable track. It's a little bit forgettable, to be honest, from the Rock and Roll or the Walls and Bridges sessions. Inoffensive, but just nothing special. Sally G, the B-side of Junior's Farm, is a nice country and western song, and they actually flipped this single and promoted Sally G, at least in the US, and it did pretty well, but it is a B-side, and it's decent. We've got the B-side of Photograph from Ringo, Down and Out, which is a Starkey composition, which rolls along nicely. Could have been on the Ringo album. In fact, it was put on the Ringo CD version of the album, and a great guitar solo from George. And then the B-side of Take It Away very nearly made the top 10. I'll Give You a Ring, on the normal Parlophone label. So let's get into the top 10. Well, some of these choices might surprise you, but I'll tell you why I've picked them amongst the ones which didn't quite make it. Number 10, coming in at number 10, is George's I Don't Care Anymore, the B-side of Ding Dong Ding Dong. And I like this song because it's honest, and it's George basically, this song reflects his state of mind at the time, and whereas on Material World he was a little bit preachy for my liking, too preachy in his lyrics, and bemoaning the lack of compassion in the world, blah blah. At the same time, or soon after, his personal life was going to pieces, so he wasn't being all that. He was being a little bit hypocritical, being so judgmental on others, and maybe not looking in the mirror enough. But on this song, and on some of Dark Horse, he's very honest and upfront, and admits his frailties. A song like Simply Shady is similar in that respect. So I Don't Care Anymore, I mean, as a song, it's not that sophisticated, but it's got a nice tune in the verse, and I Don't Care Anymore and I'll knock down anybody's door to hold you in my arms once more. I'd go anywhere, you know I don't cur, spoken in a good Liverpool accent. I like this song, and hence that's why it made the top 10. Number 9, the B-side to the Another Day single from Paul, 1971. But I Don't Care Anymore was 74. Paul's first solo single. Nothing was released as a single off the McCartney album, not even Maybe I'm Amazed. So this was a kind of prelude to the Ram album, released a few months before Ram. And this B-side was a bit of an eye-opener at the time, probably. Although not that much. It's very much in contrast to the A-side. It's rockier, it's more in tune with tracks like Ooh You from the McCartney first solo album. And it's rough and ready, and Paul's great screaming vocal. And I just love the fact that we've got these B-sides there, which didn't make it onto an album. It's safely housed on the Ram Archive double vinyl edition, but until then was not released on any album. And it's well worth checking out. I think it's nicely complements the A-side, because the A-side is very sugary, commercial, catchy tune, and then the B-side is quite raucous. So that's number 9. Number 8, we've got Miss Adele, the B-side to Give Me Love. This is an American version of the single with the Capitol label. We've got my UK Apple version, Miss Odell here. It's a song written about Chris O'Dell, George's friend, and it's got amusing lyrics about the record player is broken on the floor, and he bursts out laughing in the middle. There were 2 versions. There's one version released on I think it's on the Living Material World Deluxe CD, where he doesn't laugh, but the release version is the one with him laughing. And you need a bit of humour in George's work around this time. As I say, the previous B-side displayed honesty, or admitting one's faults and being humorous were not things which one had associated with George up until these B-sides. All Things Must Pass and Material World being fairly sombre affairs and a little bit self-righteous. So nice to see George in playful mood. Again, the song isn't any great shakes, not a masterpiece, but it's very, very enjoyable, and I like it a lot. So that was number 8. And number 7, we have Ringo, the B-side of It Don't Come Easy, which came out on the Apple label in 1971. And it's called early 1970 because it was probably recorded or written early 1970, when the Beatles were just about split up, and Ringo was bemoaning and pretty sad about the fact that what was happening, and he wrote a verse about all three of his ex-Beatle colleagues. Lives on a farm, got plenty of charm, beep beep, got no cows, but he sure got a whole load of sheep, was the verse about Paul. And then we got with his wife, who's Japanese, about John, and then Picking Daisies for His Soup, the verse about George. And then finally, with a great self-deprecating last verse, Ringo says, I play guitar, A, E, G. I don't play bass because that's too hard for me. I play the piano if it's in C. And when I come to town, I want to see all three. So it's very much a conciliatory gesture to his friends in the Beatles, unlike, for example, some of the stuff from Ram directed towards John from Paul, and How Do You Sleep, the worst example from John on Imagine. So this was Ringo being the happy-go-lucky, friendly, I don't want to fall out with anyone. And for the most part, he'd stayed true to that role, and would probably maintain the best relations with the other three ex-Beatles than any of the others, if you were to measure it somehow. So that was numbers 7 to 10. I'll continue with this series on the next video and numbers 4 to 6. So thank you for watching. See you next time.